In today's episode, US has proposed to increase the minimum wages paid to hire an employee under H-1 visa program. A 62-year-old Indian American man will be denaturalized for a 2.5 million fraud. Do you have an India income tax filing requirement? We'll talk about that at the end of this episode. Welcome to Desh Videsh Desk, home to what matters for NRIs. Links to all the stories will be posted on X. US has proposed to increase the minimum wages paid to hire an employee under H-1B visa program, in some cases up to 30%. The administration claims that the existing wage levels were fixed 20 years ago and failed to adequately protect US workers. The new rule seeks to increase the minimum wages for 4 categories, from entry level to the most experienced. This new rule is now open to public comments until May 26. Top 3 countries that will be impacted by these changes include Bangladesh, United States, and Albania. In Bangladesh's case, even though dollar amount is small, it goes from $650 per month to $1,200 per month under the new rules, indicating a 84.6% change. The United States, here taking level 1 San Francisco as an example, the existing salary is about $124,000 for H-1B. Now that will be moved to $162,000. Albania also saw a 25% increase due to these changes, or should I say proposed changes. We covered in the earlier news that US is proposing to increase the H-1B visa fees and also remove the lottery system, prioritize wage-based H-1B issuance. Now, new proposal increases the minimum salary requirements by 30%. This will directly impact H-1B, H-1B1, E3 and Perm labor certificate programs if this gets to pass into the law. As one can imagine, the proposed rules have received mixed responses, ranging from overwhelming support to opposition, contending that smaller companies may no longer be able to hire freshers for entry-level jobs given the high prevailing wages. However, some segments of the community also say that H-1B has been the most abused visa program, undercutting US workers from workforce. In our next story, Debashish Ghosh, a 62-year-old Indian American businessman, is likely to lose his US citizenship as the Department of Justice moved to denaturalize him along with 11 other individuals. Ghosh committed a wire fraud before and after he became a US citizen. In other words, when he was applying for US citizenship in 2012, he lied on his application, saying that he was not involved in any kind of fraud or defrauding Americans, which means under the perjury, he actually concealed the crime during naturalization process. Allegedly, before Debashish naturalized, he conspired to defraud investors of $2.5 million intended for the construction of an aircraft maintenance facility. After naturalizing, Ghosh continued the fraudulent scheme, misrepresenting the location and safekeeping of the investor funding, according to the DOJ document. As some of you may know, under Immigration and Nationality Act, a naturalized US citizen can be ripped off their citizenship and certificate of naturalization if naturalization was illegally procured or procured by concealment of a material fact or by willful misrepresentation. One of the tenets of applying for US citizenship is to have a good moral character. When you're committing a fraud, then you're absolutely not adhering to the good moral character clause. What happened in this case, allegedly, is that Keith Eric Jurgensen and Ghosh were co-chief executive officers of Chicago-based Verdant Capital Group. A New York-based firm, Laurentian Aerospace Corporation, had retained Verdant to raise funds for the construction of an airplane maintenance, repair and overhaul facility. The agreement and the understanding was that Laurentian would transfer $2.5 million as seed money. However, that money could not be used for any other reason except for building this maintenance facility. However, within days after receiving the money into Wells Fargo account, both Keith and Debashish started transferring the money, emptying the bank of $2.5 million, which they used to pay their own Verdant employees and other expenses, according to the article. Duo then spent several years falsely assuring Laurentian and its investors that their money was safe and secure, with Jurgensen going so far as to forge a memorandum of understanding that purported that they have Laurentian's money in a secured bank account. The victims to this fraud include retired US Air Force colonel, a former New York City deputy mayor, a retired law firm partner, and several retired executives. If you have been away from India, irrespective of which country you went to, if you thought you did not have any Indian tax filing requirements, think again. Because if you have fixed deposits or any other sources of revenue in India, if you meet the threshold for 2026-27, this is said to be around 12 lakhs per annum. If you meet or exceed the threshold, you do have a filing requirement in India, even if you're not a resident of India. If you have missed your tax returns in the past, or if you're trying to file a tax return for 2026-27, please consult an expert who understands the Indian tax law.